Over 122,000 Australians are currently homeless, and shockingly, thousands of them have full-time jobs. That's right, people are clocking in, working 9 to 5, and still ending their day without a place to call home. It's a growing crisis that's turning the idea of job security into a cruel joke. How is this even possible? How can someone earn a steady paycheck and still be sleeping in their car, couch surfing, or living in shelters? The answer lies in a web of broken systems, skyrocketing costs, and a housing market that's pushing everyday workers to the edge. In this video, we're diving deep into the 10 jaw-dropping reasons why full-time workers in Australia are falling into homelessness. Reason number 10 will leave you stunned, because it's something that could happen to anyone at any time. Don't miss it. Number 1. Skyrocketing rent prices. Renting a home in Australia has become a financial nightmare, even for full-time workers. In major cities like Sydney and Melbourne, average weekly rents have soared past $700 for a modest 2-bedroom apartment. That means a full-time worker on minimum wage, earning around $800 a week before tax, could be handing over almost their entire paycheck just to keep a roof over their head. And that's without factoring in food, transport, or utilities. This rent explosion isn't just affecting big cities. Regional towns that used to be affordable are now seeing double-digit rent increases as people flee city prices, only to cause demand spikes in smaller areas. In fact, CoreLogic's data shows national rents have jumped by more than 30% in the past 3 years alone. That's one of the steepest increases in recent Australian history. The result? Workers are being priced out of their homes. Teachers, aged care workers, hospitality staff. They're all struggling to afford rent in the communities they serve. Some are forced to move far from their jobs, endure long commutes, or settle for overcrowded or unsafe living conditions. Others, with no affordable options left, are pushed into homelessness, despite doing everything right. And the worst part, landlords can raise rent with little warning, leaving tenants scrambling to find hundreds more dollars each month. Or face eviction. It's a ticking time bomb that doesn't care if you're employed or not. Number 2. Stagnant wages. While rent, groceries, fuel, and electricity have skyrocketed in price, wages in Australia have barely moved. For years, workers have watched their purchasing power shrink while the cost of living explodes around them. And the numbers don't lie. Real wages, when adjusted for inflation, have actually declined in recent years. In simple terms, people are working just as hard, if not harder, for less. Take this in. A full-time retail or hospitality worker might be earning around $45,000 to $50,000 a year. That might sound okay on paper, but once you subtract tax, rent, transport, food, and basic expenses, there's often nothing left. No savings, no safety net, one unexpected bill, or a rent hike, and they're on the edge of losing everything. The problem is deeper than just low wages. Many essential jobs, like early childhood educators, aged care workers, and cleaners, are undervalued and underpaid. These aren't luxuries. They're the people holding society together. And yet, they're often the ones most at risk of housing insecurity. Worse still, the minimum wage increases that do happen are often swallowed up instantly by rising rents and inflation. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. No matter how fast you go, you're stuck in place. Or falling behind. For many Australians, working full-time no longer guarantees stability or dignity. It just means working every hour possible, only to end up with too little, too late. And when rent takes the lion's share of a paycheck, even the hardest workers can find themselves without a place to call home. Number 3. Casualization of the workforce. Imagine working hard every week, but not knowing how many hours you'll get next week, or even if you'll get any at all. That's the harsh reality for millions of Australians caught in the casual and gig economy. From hospitality and retail to delivery driving and admin work, More and more jobs offer zero security, no benefits, and unpredictable incomes. This shift toward casual work means even full-time hours don't guarantee full-time pay. Some weeks are good, others not so much. And that inconsistency makes budgeting for rent and being approved for a lease nearly impossible. Landlords want proof of stable income, but casual workers often can't provide it, even when they work as much as, or more than, a salaried employee. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, nearly 25% of the workforce is casually employed. That's millions of people with no sick leave, no annual leave, and no guaranteed shifts. Add in the rise of gig work through apps like Uber and DoorDash, and you've got a labour market where flexibility is a myth. For most, it just means instability. And when casual workers fall short on rent, they can't rely on savings or backup income. A single cancelled shift or off-season slump can tip them into arrears. Once that happens, eviction isn't far behind. In a system that favours steady pay slips and long-term employment histories, casual workers are left in the cold, even when they're working as hard as anyone else. It's a silent contributor to homelessness that's growing fast and affecting people across all age groups and industries. Number 4, lack of affordable housing stock. Even if you have a full-time job and a steady income, finding an affordable place to live in Australia is becoming almost impossible. Why? Because there simply aren't enough low-cost rental properties to meet demand. The housing market is broken, tilted heavily in favour of investors, developers, and short-term profits, while everyday workers are left with nowhere to go. Public housing, once a key safety net for low-income earners, has been neglected for decades. The waiting lists are painfully long. Some families wait up to 10 years to access a government-subsidised home. Meanwhile, private developers are pumping out luxury apartments and investment units that are well out of reach for most working people. In many cities, even studio apartments are commanding rents that only high earners can afford. The result? Massive competition for what little affordable housing exists. Properties are snapped up within hours, often going to those who can offer months of rent in advance. For single parents, casual workers, or anyone with a less than perfect rental history, that means being constantly overlooked, even when they're fully employed. And it's not just in the cities. Regional and rural areas, once seen as the affordable alternative, are now facing the same shortages. As city dwellers flee to cheaper towns, prices there have also surged, making affordable housing almost extinct across the country. It's a housing gridlock, too many people chasing too few homes. And in this race, working hard doesn't guarantee you a place at the finish line. For many, it doesn't even guarantee shelter. Number 5, mental health challenges. Mental health and homelessness are deeply connected, and the link is often misunderstood. For many full-time workers struggling with anxiety, depression, or trauma, maintaining stability can become a daily battle. And when mental health issues are left untreated or unsupported, even a secure job can't protect someone from the risk of losing their home. Imagine trying to hold down a job while battling insomnia, panic attacks, or chronic stress. Now add on the pressure of rising rent, bills piling up, and no support network to fall back on. It's a recipe for burnout, and for some, it ends with them sleeping rough or living in their car just to survive. Many workers are afraid to speak up about their struggles for fear of losing their jobs. And even if they do seek help, Australia's mental health services are stretched thin. Appointments can take months to secure, especially for low-income individuals. That delay can mean the difference between keeping and losing your home. According to Beyond Blue, 1 in 5 Australians will experience a mental health condition in any given year. And while mental health challenges don't always lead to homelessness, they can easily push someone over the edge when combined with low pay, high rent, and job insecurity. This isn't just about housing, it's about humanity. Without proper support, mental illness can strip away the stability that employment is supposed to provide. And it's happening far more often than you might think. We put real heart into every video to tell the stories that matter. If this hit home, drop a comment below. We read every single one. And hey, subscribing is just one click, but it means the world to us. Number 6, domestic and family violence. When most people think about homelessness, they rarely imagine a full-time worker escaping violence. But for thousands of Australians, especially women and children, fleeing an abusive home means walking straight into housing insecurity, even while holding down a job. Domestic and family violence is one of the leading causes of homelessness in Australia, and it doesn't discriminate by income. You can be a nurse, a retail worker, or even a manager, and still find yourself with no safe place to stay once you leave. Shelters are often at capacity, temporary accommodation is limited, and affordable rentals are almost non-existent. Leaving an abusive situation is already one of the hardest decisions a person can make. But when there's no affordable housing available, many feel trapped, forced to choose between safety and homelessness. Even those with jobs face hurdles. Landlords may demand rental history, large bonds, or proof of long-term employment, all of which can be difficult to provide when someone has fled in a hurry. The financial abuse that often goes hand in hand with domestic violence makes it even worse. Victims might have jobs, but no access to their own bank accounts or money. Others may be recovering from years of isolation and financial control, making it nearly impossible to secure a rental, even with steady work. It's a silent crisis within a crisis. Full-time employment doesn't shield victims from the devastating effects of abuse, and far too often, it doesn't prevent them from becoming homeless either. Behind many tragic housing stories is a survivor just trying to start over. Number 7, poor credit or rental history. In Australia's competitive rental market, your financial past can haunt you, no matter how hard you're working now. A single late payment, a missed rent, or even a previous period of financial hardship can stick to your rental history like a permanent stain. For many full-time workers, this is enough to get their rental applications tossed aside without a second glance. It doesn't matter if you're now employed, paying your bills on time, or trying to rebuild. Landlords and real estate agents often have strict screening systems, and one black mark can ruin your chances, especially when dozens of people are applying for the same property. Some applicants are asked for rental resumes, reference letters, and proof of savings. If you've ever fallen behind on rent, even just once, you're at a serious disadvantage. For people who've experienced job loss, illness, family breakdown, or even natural disasters, rebuilding a clean rental record can be almost impossible. And if you've previously been evicted, your name might be listed on tenant databases like Tika, which are used by landlords to automatically filter out risky tenants, no matter their current employment status. This cycle creates a cruel paradox. You can be fully employed and still locked out of the housing market because of your past. And without access to stable housing, it's even harder to maintain a steady job, leading to a downward spiral. Full-time work is supposed to offer stability, but when past financial struggles are held against you forever, it turns housing into a privilege, not a right. Number 8, lack of government support. In a country as wealthy as Australia, you'd think a full-time worker facing homelessness could rely on government support to stay afloat. But the truth is, the safety net is full of holes. Rent assistance, emergency housing, and social services are either too limited, too slow, or too difficult to access, especially for working people who don't qualify for traditional welfare programs. The Commonwealth Rent Assistance Scheme, for example, offers only a small subsidy, often not even enough to cover a week's rent in major cities. And because it's tied to other Centrelink payments, many full-time workers earning just slightly above the threshold get nothing at all. It's a system that punishes people for working, leaving them stranded when they need help most. Emergency accommodation is also stretched to the limit. Shelters are overrun, temporary housing is hard to find, and many services require proof of extreme need, which often excludes employed individuals, even if they're sleeping in their car. It's a cruel irony. Having a job can disqualify you from support, even if you're still homeless. Add to that the lack of investment in public housing, and it becomes clear government support systems are not keeping up with the real cost of living. Decades of policy inaction and underfunding have left workers with nowhere to turn when they're priced out of the market. In a just society, no one working full-time should be homeless. But when the government fails to support its citizens through crises, it sends a dangerous message. You're on your own. Number 9. Increasing cost of living. It's not just rent that's rising. Everything is. Groceries, fuel, electricity, insurance, and even phone bills have jumped dramatically in recent years. For many full-time workers, their pay isn't stretching as far as it used to. That weekly grocery trip now costs an extra $50. Filling up the car takes double what it did just a few years ago. These small hikes add up fast, and for those living paycheck to paycheck, they can be devastating. A 2024 report by the Australian Bureau of Statistics showed that household spending has increased by over 20% in just 3 years. That includes essentials, things people can't cut back on, like food, rent, and utilities. And when those core expenses eat up nearly all of someone's income, there's nothing left for emergencies, savings, or unexpected bills. Even small financial shocks, like a car repair or a medical expense, can push someone over the edge. People are being forced to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table. And when you're in that position long enough, one missed payment can snowball into eviction. This cost of living crisis doesn't just hurt the unemployed. It's crushing full-time workers who once felt secure. Many are skipping meals, avoiding heating in winter, or taking on second jobs just to survive. Some are making heartbreaking choices, like giving up stable housing to afford everything else. The harsh truth: in today's Australia, having a job is no longer enough. Without serious change, the cost of living will keep pushing even the hardest working people into homelessness. Number 10. Financial abuse and coercion. One of the most hidden and heartbreaking causes of homelessness among full-time workers is financial abuse. It's a form of control where one partner manages or restricts the other's access to money, often leaving them powerless. And shockingly, it can happen even when someone has a job. You might be earning a wage, but if you can't access your own bank account, use your income freely, or make financial decisions without fear, you're not financially independent. You're trapped. This kind of abuse is often subtle. It might start with a partner helping manage the bills, then slowly escalate into complete control over finances. Victims may be denied access to their own wages, forced to hand over their bank cards, or have their spending strictly monitored. Over time, this leaves them without savings, rental history, or credit, making it nearly impossible to leave or start over. And when victims do try to escape, the road ahead is incredibly difficult. They may be working full-time, but have no assets in their name, no financial literacy, and no rental track record. Even finding emergency accommodation can be a struggle, especially if their abuser controlled every aspect of their life for years. Financial abuse doesn't leave bruises, but it destroys lives. It strips people of autonomy, confidence, and security. And in many cases, it forces full-time workers, especially women, into homelessness, even though they've never missed a day of work. This is the quiet crisis few talk about, but it's real. And it's happening behind closed doors, to people who appear perfectly stable from the outside. Homelessness is no longer just a story of unemployment or addiction, it's a full-blown crisis hitting Australia's working class. From skyrocketing rent to insecure work, rising living costs, and silent struggles like domestic violence or financial abuse, the safety nets are failing. People are doing everything right, showing up to work, paying taxes, contributing to society, and still ending up without a place to sleep. This isn't just a policy issue, it's a moral one. When full-time workers can't afford housing, something is deeply broken. And if we don't talk about it, challenge it, and push for systemic change, it will only get worse. These 10 reasons are just the beginning of a much larger conversation. They reveal how close many of us are to the edge, and how easily anyone could slip through the cracks. So before we judge someone sleeping rough, we need to ask, what's really going on behind the scenes? Because the truth is, in today's Australia, having a job no longer guarantees a home, and that should scare us all.